American singer, songwriter, record producer, and actress Angela Laverne Brown, known professionally as Angie Stone, was born in Columbia, South Carolina in the early 60s. While she initially grew up within the Southern gospel tradition, she simultaneously absorbed the impassioned anthems generated by 60s and 70s soul icons like Aretha Franklin, Curtis Mayfield, and Marvin Gaye. In the late 70s, at the age of 16, she formed the all-female rap trio, The Sequence, including high school friends Cheryl Cook, known as Cheryl the Pearl, and Gwendolyn Chisholm, known as Blondie. Angie, then known as Angie B, took the role of lead singer. Unfortunately, as time has passed, the Sequence have been left out of the conversation on hip-hop pioneers. They were, in fact, the first female hip-hop group to do an original record that captivated the world, as well as the first to go gold. Years later, Angie would also reveal that the group had some stellar writing skills and were responsible for penning some major hits for the Sugar Hill Gang, namely Eighth Wonder and Apache. In 1979, the group scored a top 15 hit with their single, Funk You Up. For years to come, other artists would use elements of the song to create their own hits. That would have been fine with the Sequence if only they'd given the group their props as well as proper financial compensation, which didn't happen. We'll get into those details a little later. Around this time, Angie fell in love with Rodney Stone, also known as Lil Rodney C, from hip-hop group Funky 4+1. They married and Angie had her first child, a daughter. The union wouldn't last long. She would later admit that the real reason they did marry was because she fell pregnant and didn't think it was a good look to be having a man's baby and not be married to him. After she noticed that things were getting crowded at the label with an influx of new artists, and the group's role now being relegated to helping them succeed, Angie decided that it was best for her to break away and do her own thing. So in 1985, the group disbanded. Before she was able to shine as a solo artist though, Angie continued to spend many years as a member of a couple of other groups, Vertical Hold and DeVoe. Then finally, in the late 90s, Arista Records' then A&R manager brought Angie to label head Clive Davis's attention, and he offered her a solo recording contract. Angie's personal life was on the upswing as well, as she began dating neo-soul singer DAngelo. They met when they were both hired as writers and initially developed a friendship. Angie maintains that, contrary to popular belief, he pursued her, and not the other way around. She says she actually thought he was older than her, when in fact he was 13 years her junior. They would go on to have a son born in 1998. Angie's also been very candid about how hurtful all the comments were from people that had a problem with their age difference, and the disrespect she endured from everyone that felt she wasn't good enough for him. She told Vlad TV in 2023, "I can only say the minute he decided to become a sex symbol, or the industry cultivated a sex symbol, I became dog meat to them. After that, it was just like, ugh, she's too old for him. I wasn't old when I was trying to help him get through the studio work. I wasn't old when I was trying to get them albums finished. I wasn't old when I was writing them hits with him. It was only after he had arrived, it's like, okay, let's get rid of her. She's dead weight now." In that same interview, Angie also touched on the idea of her and DAngelo ever working together again. In her opinion, she doesn't believe that could ever happen, because his pride won't allow it. She feels that if they did collaborate and the project was a success, he would feel some kind of way about having to share the credit. Angie and DAngelo both at this time had what Angie calls an unfortunate mishap with Mary J. Blige. They'd written a song together for Angie called Every Day. After Mary's label MCA got wind of it though, they asked if she could have it. Angie did agree to let Mary demo it, but after hearing and not feeling what she brought to the track, Angie decided not to give it to her. MCA then decided to be trifling and leaked Mary's version. Angie still ended up including her version on her debut solo album. That project, titled Black Diamond, dropped in 1999. Named after her then teenage daughter, it did very well on the charts and went gold. The project spawned the hit No More Rain in This Cloud.
And there's no more rain in this cloud.
Angie confessed in later interviews that while she was enjoying her newfound solo success, she was under a gag order of sorts, barring her from talking about her hip-hop past, which would date her and make it more difficult for the label to market her as a brand new soul singer. Angie was also forced to deal with an ill-timed health issue. Prior to her solo debut, she didn't have a weight issue, but after getting prescribed a particular medication, it caused her to gain a substantial amount of weight and had a negative impact on her career. On one occasion, she recalls Oprah having an episode of her show dedicated to neo-soul artists, and everyone was there except Angie. She'd later find out that her being left out was Clive's doing. He didn't want her on that big of a platform looking the way she did. Also that year, Angie transitioned from Arista to J Records. She then became part of TV history as the voice behind the theme song for the popular UPN and CW sitcom, Girlfriends.
My girlfriend's there for anything. My girlfriends.
2 years after the release of her solo album, Angie dropped her follow-up, Mahogany Soul. It did just as well as her debut, going gold and producing 3 hit singles, Brother, Wish I Didn't Miss You, and More Than a Woman, a duet with R&B singer Joe. That song earned Angie her first Grammy Award nomination in the Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal category. Never the type to put all her eggs in one basket, Angie decided to tap into another passion of hers, acting. She began securing several roles over the years on the big and small screen. Angie's third album, Stone Love, was released in 2004. The lead single was I Wanna Thank Ya, featuring Snoop Dogg. Fun fact, Angie struck up a friendship with Idris Elba, who appeared in the music video. Idris, though, wanted more, but she put the brakes on things going any further between them. The second single off the project, called U-Haul, would give Angie another Grammy nomination. Stone Love would end up being Angie's last project for Clive Davis and J Records. The reason why was something Angie wouldn't make public for many years. DAngelo had let her know that he'd been dropped from his label. So Angie put her superhero cape on and wrangled a deal for him over at her label. There was a catch though. DAngelo's manager had arranged it so that the only way he would agree to sign his client is if Angie left. A few other things happened as well, like her usual budget for her projects getting cut in half, and being asked to change the name of her upcoming album because it was too similar to the title of her labelmate's project. Over the next 15 years, Angie bounced from label to label, releasing 6 more studio albums along the way, including her last to date, 2019's Full Circle. In 2013, Angie got into the reality TV game, appearing on the second season of TV1's R&B Divas. She was originally brought in as a kind of mediator to smooth things over. However, as what often happens on reality TV, she ended up getting caught up in a bunch of drama of her own. Looking back on the experience, she says that it both helped and hurt her career. Oh yeah, another reason that she hightailed it out of there was over the alleged cheating scandal between her man and a staff member. Now earlier, it was mentioned that other artists over the years have used elements of the sequence song Funk You Up, much to the group's chagrin. Well, in 2014, a couple of artists interpolating it created a worldwide smash hit. Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars's Uptown Funk exploded on the charts in dozens of countries and won numerous awards, including Record of the Year at the 2016 Grammy Awards. Angie and her groupmates did file suit to try to recoup what they believed was rightfully theirs, but ultimately let it be after getting a lot of negative attention for it. The group also had a prior sour experience with Dr. Dre and his 1995 hit song, Keep Their Heads Ringin'. He also interpolated Funk You Up on the track, and that should have meant that the members of the sequence would be getting a check for it. To the group's horror, though, they found out that Sylvia Robinson, founder and CEO of their label, Sugar Hill Records, had sold the licensing and publishing rights over to Dre. According to Angie, she had no right to do so. In 2015, Angie's name was trending again, but not because she released an album that year. It was over the drama surrounding her and her daughter Diamond's physical altercation. Things got so volatile that a call to 911 was also placed. Months later, mother and daughter appeared on the TD Jakes show to talk about the incident publicly for the first time. Angie spoke about how difficult it was having a child at a young age and admitted that she didn't do things the right way all the time. Being the sole provider for her entire family also meant that Angie had to leave Diamond to be raised by relatives so she could work. That choice, inevitably, caused a serious rift between them. Another issue that they talked about was Diamond's frustration over her mother not helping her advance her singing career as much as she thinks she should have. Today, Angie says they've worked on things and now share a great relationship. In the early part of 2021, Angie shocked her fans when she spilled all the tea on an Instagram livestream about what she believed the reason was as to why her career has stalled. Apparently, she found out that a number of people have been performing witchcraft on her in an effort to sabotage her progress.
Losing my mom and all this time, even with my career, taking a stall, a standstill, I've come to find out that there was all kind of witchcraft and all kind of stuff being done to try to hinder me, but God, I can't allow the enemy to think that he can stop me that easily, that he can just start to handle me any kind of way. It's just not going down because I serve an almighty creator who is saying no to all of that nonsense. So no matter what the enemy tries to bring my way, I am girded in the spirit of Christ. And no, you might try to slow me down, but you cannot stop me. And at the end of the day, all your buffoonery, your witchcraft, all of the people that are in my face grinning, skinning and grinning, and meanwhile hating, doing everything that they can to stop me, I'm going to pray for you in spite of who you think that you're dealing with, because the Father and the God that I serve is not to be played with. No, I've not been invited to the Grammys. I've not been invited to Black Girls Rock. I've not been invited to the Soul Train Awards, but that doesn't mean that my soul is not safe with the Creator. I want y'all to know that those things do not define me. They don't make me the person that I am. They don't change what my outcome will be. However, what it does is further let me know that God has some special things in store for me and people just can't handle it.
In February 2023, Angie released her first new single in 4 years called Kiss You. She also revealed that she's putting the finishing touches on a new album set to be released sometime this year. She told rollingout.com, "My album is sultry, it's sexy, it's fun, and it's all the things that Angie Stone has always been all in one."